Hello. So this is my second attempt at explaining how to set up both Home Assistant and Nextcloud in your network with Nginx Reverse Proxy so that you can use two domains for those two servers and one Nginx proxy in the middle, and it will go through and decide, alright, that domain needs to go to Nextcloud and this domain needs to go to Home Assistant, right? So yeah, basically your router will squeeze the traffic through one port, put it to the Nginx reverse proxy, and that will decide if that should go to the Nextcloud or Home Assistant. So the way I have it set up here is an example which won't work because I've removed my own domains. Not sure if it should work for this tutorial, but basically I will get you the link to that repo, and what you can see here is can I do it like that? No. Okay, so as you can see here, we have, don't mind this one, this is not important for now. You have the docker-compose, which is the file that will basically make everything work. And you have the reverse proxy here. And this is the configuration that will say whether like this domain or this domain should go to like this device or this device. Alright, so that's this part. There is also this so that's the Nginx folder, that's the Docker, and that's just an example site I've attached just to prove a point that you can. So let's take a look, or maybe let's not jump to the details yet. Let's just take a look at how you would start that. So basically you do this to check if it works. Come on. I broke it. Alright, give me a second, I will fix it. Alright, so yeah, I kind of fixed the problem of this one file missing, but there is still the problem of my Nextcloud running on this device and making it impossible to launch the second one easily with that. So I want to show you how it works, but basically you run this command in this folder where this docker compose is, and it will spit a bunch of logs, and if that's successful, good for you. If that's not successful, then not so good for you, then good luck debugging. And when you want to set that up permanently, you just run docker compose and this -d, and that will make sure that control sync, it will basically run it and close it, and you will have the free console, because in this version there will be a bunch of logs and you will be just hanging there, and control C will kill the container. Alright, so my container is already in use, so can show it working. I don't want to show you mine because there's like IPs involved and domain names, so let's just stick with the example. So docker-compose.yaml. This is basically the thing that makes it all work. This part here is from the Nextcloud documentation somewhere on GitHub, I think. Basically it sets up this Docker container. You don't need to know how it works, it just works. You have this restart always here. I think I've added this. This is pretty important because if you lose power to your device and you want it to reboot and still keep working, then you would add this thing. Or if something breaks, so that's here for that. By default those two ports are enabled here, but we don't need them as Nginx is taking care of those. I've only enabled that port. That will be used for Nextcloud setup, and I don't think it's needed after that. And you have here, you need to uncomment this line, and basically this line only. You can also use this thing. I forgot to uncomment it, so that should be useful too, so that if you don't want people to connect to your Nextcloud from LAN network, not through the domain name you set up. So this defined, that's needed here, that's needed here. Cool, we have that. This is I have an external hard drive connected and mounted in here through the etc fstep, and yeah, it basically tells the Nextcloud, hey, please use this directory for all your data. So that user files are on my big external hard drive and not on the small SSD. Yeah, so that's pretty easy. Just copy and paste it from the repo I will leave in the description below. And there will be a link to my GitHub with those files. And in here you have the Nginx. Yeah, there is the name, the restart I've talked about. I tried doing it with the defining the ports and links, but that was problematic, so I just made this network mode host, which basically enables the Nginx container to see the whole host network. That was much easier and less painful. Not sure if, yeah, I think there shouldn't be any problems. Like, it's not if there is something else in that container that can be compromised via other ports. So yeah, I don't think we need to care about it. It should be fine. We have this thing here, which basically copies the Nginx config that I will show you in a second to the default one in the container. We have also the certificates here. Basically, the way you set this up is you use the certbot. So I will show that in a second. And yeah, that will make sure that Nginx can use HTTPS and do all that stuff for you. So the only place where you will need to set up those certificates is on the device with the Nginx container running, and not on the Nextcloud or Home Assistant if you have that somewhere else. I don't have a Home Assistant container here because I have it on a different device. You probably can set up a Next service for the Home Assistant and just run everything in here. Yeah, I guess that could work. So yeah, you might try that. I just very much like the Home Assistant operating system and the fact that it's hassle-free. If it breaks, you can just restore that from a backup in an hour or something. So yeah, that's really awesome. So I have it on a separate device for it more robust, let's call it that way. Alright, so let's move on to the Nginx config. So there is two server blocks here, 1 and 2, and the third one is just for this example index.html. And yeah, you can see here's the port setup. So it listens on 80 and 443. It's the same on both of them, actually 3 of them. And the proxy stuff is also the same. The only difference between those blocks is the domain name here and here. So that's the Home Assistant one, that's the Nextcloud one, and the redirect. So that's where you point to. So if the Nginx gets a request from this thing, it points it here. And here it's the thing we've looked. Oh, it's this port you've set up here, right? So yeah, if the Nginx gets traffic from this domain, it will redirect it to basically here. So that's cool, right? This stuff makes sure that you have all the HTTPS stuff and headers and yeah, I don't even know and care. So yeah, it needs to be there for that to work. This is the SSL, so that certificate. And yeah, that's mostly it. You don't need to care what's here, it will just work for you. And in here you can see I'm just using a local IP of a different device that is hosting the Home Assistant server, and it's also using HTTP here and HTTP here. So that is on a local device, that should be fine. This is a speed might be problematic if you care enough, because it's HTTP through LAN network, so in theory anyone connected to your LAN network can, I mean, not even in theory, you can just like snoop this out and see like what's the communication here. But I have all my smart home devices connected to Home Assistant without any encryption, so I guess there isn't much harm that anyone could do like just because of it, right? But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal to have it like that on a separate device and with the HTTP connection, but it's on your LAN network, so just make sure you don't give your Wi-Fi password to some bad friends, right? Alright, and that's basically all the setup. This is a small example. I mean, you can basically like that host a small site might as well, right? So yeah, just make an HTML file in here and it will serve it the static website. Alright, I think that's everything, right? So no, it's not everything. We need to cover the certbot. So as you can see, there is this certbot, right? So to set everything up, you would basically start by going to duckdns.org and creating a domain for yourself. You will also need to set up a duckdns client that will update your domain with the IP. So there will be like a scheduled job on your computer that will call duckdns and say, hey, I have this IP now. So in here, right, on this machine that has the Nginx, it will be sending out to the duckdns the request to update the IP there. I might make a video in the future about that, so if you want to, I guess there is like already a ton of tutorials, so just go like Google it, how to set up duckdns on like Linux or something, and you will find ways. So yeah, you have the duckdns working. After that, you launch certbot with sudo ideally, and you enter your domain name here. Okay, and it will fail, but if you did set up the domain correctly and it's pointing to your server, that should be successful. And when that's done, go through the docker-YAML file, make sure you, yeah, maybe not have Gustav here, I will change that to use something more sensible. Yeah, but go through all of those, change the domain names here. Yeah, basically look through those settings, make sure that like there is everything you need here, and go to the Nginx proxy config here. Also change the domain names. You can leave this one as is if you're using this docker-compose.yaml. Home Assistant, you will need to figure out how you want to deal with that. So change that, change the domain, and yeah, that should be it. You basically can then docker compose up. Maybe the first time do it this way, look through the logs that everything is fine, and when it is, just like Control-C it and docker compose up -d, disconnect from SSH, forget it, and it should be, everything should be working. I can do a part 2 on how to set up the Nextcloud, basically the Nextcloud itself, also something about Home Assistant, but I think there will be already a ton of tutorials, so I wanted to make this one to focus on the Nginx Reverse Proxy, which to me was like very scary, intimidating, and I had no idea how that will work. But yeah, I figured it out, and it's actually not that complicated once you understand that basically you just listen on the ports, and that is like an if that says, okay, is it this domain? Yeah, then do this, and if not, do something else. So yeah, I hope that helps someone, and that's basically everything from me. So yeah, I hope you had fun watching. I will try to make more videos if I have some cool ideas. Maybe they will be computer related, or maybe they will be something completely different. We will see. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.